And the player saying, Huffer will go goal. Down here in the bottom right-hand corner of Entomb Valley is our red Terran player, Kas from Empire. He's taken one game against his opponent's team up here in the top left-hand corner. Their representative from Karont3 Esports Club, our purple Zerg player, Vortex.
Maybe he was saying have fun, really good luck against Vortex, but Vortex might not need luck because he is just so darn good at the game already.
Yeah.
Another Zerg player in now for Karont3. Still, obviously, very limited Protoss in this series. Verdi getting taken out now means that, you know, there's just almost no options left for these two teams. I'm actually curious if Acer ever plays Empire, would it just be ZVT? Though I guess it would have to be the whole way down.
Pretty much.
Yeah. But Vortex going to show off his ZVT right now.
All right, so yeah, we'll see how he does. Of course, this is a very large map. Kind of a cool setting for ZVT. I do like it because you have attack paths that are pretty narrow, and you can watch those with just a couple of siege tanks. Also, the position in between the natural and the third at each base can be watched pretty easily with mech units as well. But it's wide open in the middle of the map, similar to Whirlwind. So, you know, I mean, a decent tank position here can reach pretty far out towards these bases that are in the middle next to the destructible rocks, but still usually requires a little bit more mobile, a little bit better flanking forces.
Yep, in ZVT you are going to see a lot of Ling, Baneling, Muta kind of compositions. Infestors usually make an appearance as well. That is, if the Zerg player doesn't just try to do a Roach Bust, which is possible on this map as well. Because the natural, for example, if Koss were to build that command center on the low ground, Vortex would have a lot of options to be able to come attack it because that ramp leading up to the natural is pretty wide. Roaches do pretty well there. We do have an SCV versus drone fight. It looks like the drone will lose if they continue, so he is going to back off.
But the SCV can't naturally regenerate, and thus is at a disadvantage if the drone runs away for a few seconds. But Vortex going with his hatchery for the time, his hatchery into pool for the time being. No gas following that up, so it looks like we're going to see a 4-queen build out of him. This is one of those maps where it's really, really important to extend creep all the way through the middle, force them to use scans and energy and stims on picking off creep tumors, but making sure that if you have good creep spread, you can flank just really, really well.
That's right, and Vortex actually has not, you know, started to spread any creep, and actually, I'm trying to think. LoL vs. XD had really good creep spread. He had something like 1 million creep tumors, I think, on Ohana earlier on, so I'm not sure if that's something Vortex has worked with him on or not. We'll see what kind of spread he's actually going to manage to get. Koss is actually just getting both of his orbital commands going now, and well, you know, it'll be some time before we see what he actually adds on. Braddock, when doing this build, usually added on 2 more barracks.
Single gas thus far, not double gas right afterwards. Maybe we're going to see a quicker third command center out of him as well. There's the factory on the way, and he could be going for that, you know, Banshee style and then straight into a third command center, but because he's just on 1 gas, he won't have quite the amount that he needs to go for a cloak right away or anything like that. So we may be looking at Marine Tank again, especially because that's what all of the Empire Terran players have been playing so far. No mech so far.
Yep, they could start off with the Hellion, you know, the reactored Hellions, get in, try and do some drone killing. Obviously, we have seen some really devastating drone deaths this week in Hyun versus Gumiho.
Oh, yeah.
There were some massive losses of life at the hands of Gumiho's Hellions, so obviously still a strong option for any Terran player in this matchup. All you have to do is find that sweet spot, if you can slip past the Queens or Spine Crawlers or what have you, and get into the juicy drone area, that can obviously pay off really well.
Yep, and that 1 gas was a dead giveaway. Quick third command center coming up now as he just puts down these reactored Hellions into a starport. But, you know, we'll see how he follows this up, but everything has been according to Terran plan so far.
That's right, and both players actually giving each other plenty of room to do what they want. Vortex taking that 6-minute hatchery. That's a little Hyun-esque. Let's see if he's not actually going to follow up with a Roach Warren, though, or a Baneling Nest.
And he, of course, went for no gas to start, so a little bit different, but he's triple gassing now, so we can start catching up in upgrades, power ahead to layer tech, and eventually move towards the late game. But he is beginning with his creep spread, a few active creep tumors being put down, so we can get those out and across the map as soon as possible.
Yeah, he can at least connect his bases pretty quickly that way. He's going to probably want to take down his own destructible rocks, separating his natural and his main. Koss probably will be doing the same thing here shortly, but Zergling speed has been started. 2 Evo chambers coming up for Vortex. Makes me think he's probably going to go heavy Link Baneling with melee and armor upgrades to start.
It's weird, even though Koss has taken He's done no scouting, as we saw there. He's only now getting up there. He can still get a lot of information just by killing that one Zergling in the middle. He knows there's no speed, so he knows that gas was taken really, really late. He knows that that's likely then that his opponent is going to be on some sort of a 4-queen build. Now, what kind of it, he doesn't know, and that's why he checked the third here, because it could have been, 4-queen build from no gas into quad gas quick layer tech, but that's not going to be the case. Of course, Vortex playing for a much later game.
All right, and the lair is actually about halfway done now, though, and Baneling Nest is coming up, so melee attack and all these speed upgrades most likely going to be showing up. With Banelings and Lings, makes me think the Spire is probably going to be following that up as well, but Spore Crawlers are coming up to try and deal with any Banshees that might be showing up anytime soon. Did Koss actually go ahead and build one? Yes, he did. No cloak, though, for this variation of the build.
I believe, as they were saying, though, in chat, that he did fake it a second ago as an Overlord was floating over a second. So, but he's only going to produce one Banshee, bait some Spore Crawlers out of his opponent, and move straight into heavy medevac Marine tank production. So, Koss, he's got a pretty well-rounded force here, but oh, a great surround, and that is really bad for Koss. He's going to lose every one of these Hellions, and did almost no damage in return.
That's right. He really can't continue with this Banshee safely. There are Spore Crawlers already up. There's an Overseer made. I mean, it's not a huge detriment. Obviously, Cloak was canceled, and he did build an Overseer to try and deal with it. But, you know, Overseers are nice for other things. You can use them to scout. They have a little bit more HP and armor, so they can continue to scout better. But these Lings are going to run in and find this base that actually was just dropped by Koss, so he can actually lift that up anytime he needs to. The Destructible Rock's still being worked on as well to get that force over there, but he's getting free damage with one Ling at least.
Yes, he is. Surprised he didn't try and pick off that SEV there. Koss is going to be able to react to this in time, and Vortex did indeed run all of his Lings back home, as this Banshee was able to clean up another unit in the middle of the map, so it's certainly been good for taking map control, if nothing else. Vortex, I think, where's this drone going? Okay, no, he's just going to go saturate the third. I was thinking he may want to take a fourth, and then as soon as I say that, he takes a fourth.
No, he's gonna go take a fifth and a sixth. He's just gonna keep spreading creep and taking hatches all over the map. Mutalisks are actually starting to come out now, so this build is starting to shape up. He does have enough gas to actually build 5 more, so I'm a little curious why he hasn't. He is actually just, you know, biding his time a little bit. Doesn't want to overcommit to Mutalisks, and then suddenly Koss shows up with tons of Vikings or something like that. So actually, I lied. He's going to go all the way up to 12 now. So I'm not sure what changed, why he didn't want to use that larva as soon as he had it.
And these were the waves of creep tumors I was talking about, as he is starting to get those out there now. Make sure that he can spread them across the map. I mean, taking control of the center position is so important there. The amount of flanking you can do is a little bit staggering. Koss now going up to 2 additional factories. He already has invested into his barracks infrastructure, so it's not like a switch. He's just prioritizing three tanks at a time, and heavy mech play to complement the bioforces as he moves along, because then he will have the flexibility to move into producing, say, 2 Thors at a time, in addition to keeping up tank production in the late game to go after these Mutalisks too.
Yeah, and for now he is just making tons and tons of Marines to try and deal with the Mutalisks. The turret does not actually manage to pick off any of those Mutas, so the SCVs are in a little bit of trouble. He's going to take down the refinery as quick as he can to actually slow down that mech transition a tiny bit.
Yeah, really well done. And the 4th Command Center is coming up for Koss, so we will be able to replenish that pretty soon with a bit additional gas too. But so far, Vortex has been hitting everything that he wants to do. He's taken absolutely no harassment so far. He knew his opponent played really passively last game. Yes, it was against a Protest player, but Koss loves his long macro games. He loves his long macro games and huge late game unit control. So he's Vortex has been playing this pretty much to perfection. Yeah, and Vortex actually adding on pathogen glands now for his infestors that are going to start hitting the field. You can look at the minimap and see the creep is very similar to what we saw on Ohana from LoL vs. XD, so it looks like they were indeed working on this together. The creep will soon be in Koss's area, and that's just going to help those speedlings and speed banelings move even faster for flanking purposes. So these creep tumors are just super duper populating right now. That's the number of active creep tumors. Yeah, so he's able to spread that many at a time, and I think Happy just noticed that as well, because that's exactly how many active creep tumors there were at a time right there. Nuh-uh. Anyway, you only had a row and a half. That's less than 16. What's up? I had 2.5 rows. Oh, did you? Yeah. Oh, okay. Wow. So Happy knows. He knows his
Wow, is he listening to this right now from
I'm
the
sure
past?
he is.
That's crazy. All right, so Vortex looping in here.
That's disgusting. I'm sorry. I'm just putting it out there. I know I concentrate on creep tumors a little bit too much sometimes, but holy crap, that's gross.
Yeah, and he's actually going to be right into Kasa's territory soon, and he has no real way to press out and even drop scans and try to take them out because he just doesn't have enough forces to risk moving out and being flanked. That's a big problem. 17 Banelings actually being created right now for Vortex, so it looks like he is getting ready for war, adrenal glands, and +3 melee attacks coming along now as well.
And still he's been able to concentrate on his greater spire and make sure that that gets into play. Look at this. He can see the creep inside of his base now. He throws down a scan to try and clean things out, but these forces are all out of position. He's going to assault the planetary fortress. No, he baits the forces, uses fungal growths to pin down the siege tanks as well. He kills the vast majority of the Marines. The Mutalisks are falling very quickly, though. Kas is able to repel this. Vortex falling back, and he's going to need to reproduce whatever he can very quickly. Looks like it may be Broodlords here in a bit. No, okay, yeah, so 7 Corruptors, and he's setting up for the Ultralisk transition as well.
All right, there were just explosions everywhere there, and by the end of it, Vortex had nothing left to fight with, just as Infestors and a handful of Mutalisks, so he did have to get out there. But the Baneling blasts, I did notice a lot of them sinking into the tanks while there were Marines very nearby, so maybe could have gotten a little bit more efficient trade and been able to continue on. But if Vortex just keeps remaxing this quickly, it looks like actually Kas is ahead in supply by 20. Vortex is going to need to remax pretty quickly, but now that his Ultralisk Cavern is getting finished up, he's probably going to dump the last 40-ish supply into some Ultras.
Yeah, I mean, he's saving up resources for that. Of course, needs to supplement with a few Zerglings as well. So producing those, making 7 Broodlords at once now, though.
And 52 Lings.
Yes.
So definitely replenishing while Kas has some time to push out finally and try and take care of some of these creep tumors. He's still going to have to use a lot of scans to be able to do that. Infestor swings by with a nice fungal growth, letting the Lings do some damage. But here comes the bulk of the forces. We can see Banelings being morphed, a lot of Lings ready to go, but these siege tanks on the right side for Kas are actually doing a lot of damage before the Lings can get in there. Now that the Banelings are done, though, he's going to roll forward. You can see fungal growth dropped on some Marines, doing some nice damage there, but the Broodlords are going to be the keystone of Vortex's offense now.
That's right, and this is actually the advantage for Kas. He was able to move in and start doing damage before the Broodlords got in position. That was his best opportunity to go. Now that the Broodlords are here, though, Vortex's position gets so much stronger, and he is starting to pick away at these Marines off to the side. Hasn't even needed to commit with the rest of his Zerglings or Banelings yet.
Yet the lovely part about Broodlords attacking Marines means that the tanks are going to be splashing onto the Broodlings and the Marines, so Kas actually did some of the damage for him, and now Vortex has a very, very scary force with this many Broodlords still standing, and now Kas's drops and bio basically entirely taken out. With only tanks really remaining, these Broodlords are going to have an easy time pressing on.
And the rest of the tanks go down. It's 179 supply, while 185 to 155 at the moment as Kas has taken some serious damage, but he's on 4 base production. He is going to be able to reproduce that pretty quickly. I'm surprised he's on 100 SCVs with this many orbital commands, though. It's going to make his force a little bit too weak, and I think
they are listening.
Yes, they are listening to us at the moment. So indeed, 100 workers on the map for Kas. He's making more command centers, but honestly, he should start freeing some of those up for more unit supply.
What a huge coincidence. Happy is just like listening to us and chatting from the past. But 2 Thors coming along now for Kas. He's trying to switch it up a little bit to be able to deal with the huge amounts of air that's coming in. 6 Vikings in production at a time. It might be too slow though for this planetary at least, as the Broodlords are in a great position. Lots of forces on the ground to be able to deal with any incoming units as well. Fungal on the Vikings is very nice. It allows the Corruptors to just take them out extremely fast. Lings getting involved now, surrounding the bio and SCVs. Broodlords still doing their damage. Thor's trying to get them in on the mix, but Kas is actually having trouble getting them into the proper position. Broodlord number 1 might be killed with the next volley. Nope. So they're still standing.
There it goes.
Broodlord's still doing so much damage. Corruptors overhead just corrupting everything, trying to finish off the last of these Vikings.
And they are doing so. The Vikings are going down. The medevacs are falling as well. The Zerglings are coming in from behind. Kas has not started to repair up the planetary fortress. There we go. Finally gets on that. But once again, Vortex continues to push forward. And now here comes the true transition. Everything being geared up for anti-Broodlords. And that's exactly when the Ultralisk should hit.
All right. 5 Ultras, 12 Banelings. That extra armor upgrade going on now. Everything is shaping up well now for Vortex. He could actually probably come in through the natural and third area, and stop throwing things at the planetary fortress, because those orbitals are going to be a lot easier to kill, even though he is getting mining done from there. If he can actually drive a wedge between the natural and the third, that could be really, really good for him. So we'll see which path he's actually going to take, since he's been attacking from the left side so often. It's keeping Koss in kind of the central location here.
Okay, well, Koss is finally putting down another base, but this is probably going to get picked up on by his opponent pretty quickly. Vortex actually deciding he wants to commit right now. There's not a lot of bioforces up in the front, so the Banelings don't have a ton of target, but it's fine. The fungal growth is pinning down forces off to the right, and even though a couple of air forces are falling, the Ultralisks are just running in unopposed.
Yep, still 5 Ultras, no more Thors, and a couple of Infestors and Broodlords are still standing, although the Vikings will finish off the Broodlords. These 5 Ultras need to figure out what they want to do. I don't see why not. Why they shouldn't just crash into that bunker line at this point. He is actually going to go for the planetary fortress. That's kind of interesting.
Looks like he may try at least. He's going to force a repair out of Koss here. No! The Vikings do all land, and a bunch of them get cleaned up, so he did bait a few forces down. Whether he meant to or not, I'm not sure.
He's dancing his
He
Ultras.
is! Vortex dancing some Ultras there. Oh, boy.
That's a risky place to dance your Ultras, I think, in front of the planetary fortress, but he pops it down incredibly quickly. Wow, with those Ultras, I didn't even realize how fast he was going to be able to do that, but he continues on now up the ramp toward the third. Lots of Marines and tanks, but really not a whole lot else. The Ultras with so much armor take extremely little damage from these Marines. If the Infestors can get enough energy for more fungals, that'll be nice for him. 4 more Ultras and 26 Lings in production now for Vortex.
Another planetary fortress off to the left there, and excuse me, there were enough excess orbital commands around that he can float one down pretty easily and retake this 4th base once again. Even saturated up very quickly. Now he's down to 70 SCVs, and that's about where I think he should be, so I don't think it's a problem that he lost those 30 workers. It is a problem that he lost another planetary fortress, though.
Yeah, with all these Infestors out now, you can see the fungals holding everything in place for the Lings to wrap around, for the Ultras to get into position. You can see Mules returning payload from far away. There are a lot of Marauders hitting the field now, though, and Vortex is still making Ultras, so it is possible that Koss should be able to battle his way out. Vortex dancing his Ultras a little earlier.
Oh, yeah.
Still, I mean, this game's still in contention.
The game is still in contention, but I'll admit that Vortex's position is incredibly strong right now. He's got the entire top half of the map. He could start taking these bases off to the left and right as well.
Yep, so Koss, he's got some last-ditch options. These Marauders need to stay alive as well as they can, but Fungal's dropping on everything now, letting the Ultras get into position and just take all of them out. Even the tanks actually in the back getting killed by the Ultras, and now things are looking certain for Vortex as he stops this 4th base from mining soon. No, actually still going to just keep his Ultras alive as long as he can and wait for the 54 Lings in production to come in and support.
Big drop coming in here. Multiple Marauders, 5 of them and a Marine. The Link should be able to react to that pretty quickly, but it looks like Vortex is a little more concerned about what's coming up at the front. Quick reaction time, though, and he does cancel the base off to the side.
Marauders sneaky, trying to kill some drones, but this is quite a lot of Ultras standing for this number of Marauders. Yeah, 9 Ultras selected there. One of them will fall, but that's okay. He's got 8 remaining, and this is the sort of last hope for Koss keeping this base alive because his main and natural are mined out. His third is just barely mining, not anything there, maybe a couple hundred minerals combined. So Vortex really just keeping Koss from being able to take that 4th base is going to win him this game.
And is he even going to be able to save this one, too? It looks like he is. Koss now finally starting to just go after the hatchery. There, it finally does go down. And he actually, I mean, that was, for all intents and purposes, a very cost-effective drop, but it still doesn't matter. And look at that. The entire army for Vortex is sitting underneath the drops. He's going to try it again. You know, even with the damage he does here, he's still 60 supply down. He still can't reproduce his army as quickly as Vortex can. Yeah,
as these last Marauders fall, Vortex feeling just fine with his position. A couple of tanks and Marines coming out now for Koss. Oh, even the medevac gets finished off. But Vortex is really in a great position. He really just wants to continue denying this 4th base. It's time to go back over there and deny it once more. There are a couple of tanks still standing, a lot of Marauders as well. These mules and SCVs are just kind of wasting wasting time for the mules, but that's all right. And lots of banelings, 12 banelings coming out now for Vortex. He should be able to clean out this 4th base once again.
All right, well, he's just going to roll in before the banelings even get there. Use the Ultralisk to absorb most of the damage. These Vikings, of course, are just kind of dead weight at the moment. Infested Terrans being thrown in behind to absorb more damage, and Fungals locking down everything in place. And now Kass is down to just a few supply. There's GG. Vortex is currently 6-0 against Empire now in our team leagues, and he wins the game, ties things up for Karont3.